Greetings, all gallant sailors on YouTube. Welcome to Abyssal Recap. Today I'll explain a Western thriller action movie called The Salvation. Spoilers alert. Buckle up and take care. After the Danish defeat in the Prussian-Danish War in 1864, John, a retired Danish soldier, and his brother Pete, crossed the Atlantic Ocean in search of a new life. 7 years later, he bought his own land and built a house having his new life settled. His wife Marie and son headed to America to reunite with John. It would be a warmly delighting moment for a retired veteran like him. After meeting John's wife Marie and his son at the station, his brother Pete decided to stay in town for one night so that John shall spend the night with Marie. Before leaving, Pete conveyed good wishes to the family, while John took his wife and son on a wagon back to the countryside, and a couple went with him. But before they left, the couple was kicked off by two men. They were bandits just released from prison. One of them seemed drunk and stared at Marie lustfully on the way, and then began to molest her like nobody's watching. John was sullen and warned them to behave, but the other bandit pulled out a gun and pointed it at him. Then the molester grappled Marie into his arms and violated her. John could not stand it. He kicked off the revolver and took out his own gun. The two bandits did not dare to violate again. But John could not risk it either. He had his son pick up the dropped gun, but the boy was held by the bandit with a knife against his throat. The other bandit sensed the scale leaning to their side once again. He quickly pulled out his gun and aimed at Marie. Looking at his son's blood draining by the dagger, John put down his weapon and was kicked out of the wagon. He quickly got up and tried desperately to catch up, but could only watch the wagon traversing further and further away and disappeared into the darkness. Don't know how long it took. The exhausted John discovered the corpse of his son thrown on the roadside. His heart suddenly sank. Then John carried his son and continued the chase, till he found two coachmen's body, and the wagon is parked not far away. The two bandits were hiding in and outside the wagon. John gently put down his son to pick up the repeater on the ground. He fired one round to scare off the horses, and landed a perfect shot onto the bandit's head. The other bandit heard the gunshot and ran for his life. He desperately begged for mercy, but John ignored him, expressionlessly pulled the trigger until the chamber went dry. However, his wife Marie had already been dead before he got here. John took the bodies of his wife and son home. He finally could no longer harness the tears of grief. Soon the bodies of the two bandits and coachmen were found by the residents of the town. But the worst thing was that one of the bandits was the brother of the local gang leader Henry, who had full control of the town. The residents dare not speak of him. The mayor and the sheriff coyly dare not confronting them. When Henry learned that his brother was killed, he ordered the sheriff to find the murderer before noon, otherwise two residents would be sacrificed. Sheriff knew that it would be impossible to find the murderer within such short time, so the mayor and him decided to sacrifice the old lady of the grocery store and a man who lost both legs to Henry to vent his anger. Henry shot and killed the old lady and disabled man when the time came, but he was not satisfied and casually killed a random man. The reason is that the old lady and disabled cripple can only be counted as one. Henry also increased the monthly protection fee from $80 to $160 until the murderer who killed his brother was found. After burying his wife and son, John planned to sell the land he owned and leave with his brother Pete. When the two arrived in town, the couple who had been forced off the wagon that night recognized him and reported him to the sheriff. Pete went to the grocery store to sell animal hide while John went to the mayor's to sell his land. He bought it with $300, but now it's only worth $150. He also learned from the mayor that the bandit he killed was actually Henry's brother. He realized that he should not stay long in town, so he sold it with half of the price. The mayor paid him and reminded him about the bandits that he should hide the cash in his boots. John followed the advice, but when he went out he found the street was empty and dead silent. The sheriff led the law to have him surrounded. John got on his horse and prepared to break out of the encirclement. But he was outnumbered and captured by the sheriff, and his brother Pete could not escape either. John asked the sheriff to release Pete, because Pete had nothing to do with the murder, but the sheriff said that Pete should be punished as he refused to be arrested and injured his men. Then he told John that he was just a humble shepherd and sometimes had to sacrifice a sheep to save the rest of the sheep. Only when John is handed over to Henry can the trouble be settled. Henry is doing business with an oil company as the land is rich in oil resources. He bought the land from the residents at a low price by seemingly civilized means, and then sold it to the oil company. When Henry received the message that they had caught the murderer, he sent his men to take over John, and then hanged him on a wooden pile to slowly torture him in the wind and sun exposure. Then the mayor came to take John's boots, because he knew that there was $150 hidden in the boots. Meanwhile, there was only one guard left in the police station to guard Pete. Pete kept mocking the guard till the guard had enough to beat him a lesson. However, it was Pete's plan to lure him close the cage so that he shall take him down. Pete successfully escaped from the police station and arrived at Henry's place. He saw two bandits guarding John. He patiently waited for an opportunity to sneak in. Shortly after a guard entered the house to have a cup of coffee, he came out and found his companion missing. As soon as he saw the body, he was also killed by Pete, who appeared from his back. Pete ran to the pillar to save John. Meanwhile, Henry brother's widow Madeline saw them. But she didn't call for guards. Pete came to the stable with John on his shoulder and encountered two patrolling bandits. He shot first, which alerted all the bandits. Fortunately, Pete and John managed to escape on horseback. Henry led people to catch up with them. Soon John, who was extremely exhausted, fell off the horse. Pete knew that they couldn't escape fast on the same horse or they would be died. He hid John in a piece of rubble, leaving a gun, and went alone to distract the bandits. When John woke up the next day, he heard the sound of horse galloping. He hid behind the stone and looked sideways. He found Pete had been killed. When Henry returned home, he found that all of his remaining guards had been killed, the money in the safe had been looted, and the widow had fled. At this time, Madeline boarded the train. When she was young, the Indians killed her family and cut off her tongue. After that, Henry's brother raped her. But now, Henry forcibly took her as his own. It was Pete's rescue of John that finally gave her a chance to escape. But Henry unexpectedly sent his men to stop the train and catch her. As punishment, Henry decided to have his mobs rape her before killing her. At night, John came to the mayor's house. The mayor was surprised to see him alive. He hurriedly took out the boots and money. John wanted to get his land warranty back. But the mayor confessed that it was given to Henry. Obviously, the mayor also participated in Henry's dirty business. Then John went to the arms dealer to buy weapons and ammunition. The boy heard that John was going to kill Henry and wanted to go with him. He wanted to revenge his grandmother. But John didn't want the boy to die for nothing. After daybreak, a horse appeared with a coffin to Henry's place, in which there was the mayor's body. Then the bandits found that the barn was on fire and rushed to check. At this time, John hid under the floor to flank and ambush Henry's bandits. He then changed his position. The boy climbed onto the roof quietly with a gun and a Molotov. There, he managed to take down a bandit but which had him compromised. The bandits fired several rounds when they heard the movement of the roof. Unfortunately, the boy was shot and fell downstairs, but the Molotov flammable liquid dropped on the bandit's cigarette and immediately caught him on fire. Another bandit killed him to have him suffer less. But the flame in the house grew wilder. The bandit was forced to escape from the window with Madeline. John, who was stealthily flanking, shot the bandit to save Madeline, which however exposed his position. A bandit shot and injured his leg. He cautiously looked down but found a hole in the floor. He expected John to hide below and fire several shots at the floor. Then he bent over to look through the hole. The bandit fled with an unbearable scream in pain. John quickly chased after him and ended his life. At this moment, Henry, who had been hiding, finally made his move. He confronted John and was about to execute him. Madeline suddenly appeared and shot Henry. John quickly got up and blasted Henry's head. Up to this point, Henry's gang were completely wiped out. The sheriff soon arrived with the law. He did not expect John to eliminate Henry's gang all alone. Then, Madeline came out. The sheriff immediately pulled out his gun, but to see John and Madeline raising their guns at him at the same time, he did not dare to act rashly and decided to turn back. In the end, John and Madeline rode away from the town. The two went on to their way to rebuild what they both have lost. That's the end of today's video. If you do enjoy watching it, feel free to leave a like and consider to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Abyssal signing out.